All right. What's going on, world? It's your boy at Big Game James underscore 36. And I guess we had to do a special fifth quarter college football. Bring the Discord to you live. We're gonna bring the voice. We're not bringing his picture. So, ladies, if you're getting a little moist, that's because you hear a man that sounds like Barry White has a much better radio voice than I have. But
Here we go.
and maybe, hopefully, I don't care if we scratch the surface of like the damn near 2000. He's like, to quote my favorite rapper Jay Z. He had a song called Ghost Jay Z Ghostwriter. For the right price, I could even make your flows tighter. So he just hopped on a space that had 2,000 people in it. I don't think we'll get to that. If we could, fifth quarter show up, please share it. We're on two YouTubes. We're on both YouTubes are monetized. So if you want to drop my man some bread, this would be the time to drop it. Let him know, feel the love. But we got my man AMC. We're gonna keep the that's just what we're gonna keep calling him. How the hell? But tell us, how the hell did you get this? Like, why is it like why do
People
you
are
put
fucking
AMC in
lazy.
our?
That's why.
Because what?
People are lazy. So my handle on WordChain was A McKinnon 317. Like pretty easy to assume it's my first initial last name birthday. Somehow you actually know him. Pablo started calling me AMC, and it just took off from there on WordChain, and then it also spilled over to a fifth quarter. So yeah, my FSU related nickname is AMC. My friend group nickname is Double A or Double. I have a couple of acronyms out there, so I've just let AMC roll with it. And it's gone and taken on a life of its own with memes and things like that. So shout out to the dudes on fifth quarter who have made some of those hilarious memes circled around AMC.
It's one of the cool things that I always joke in sport. Everybody has a nickname, and you don't get to pick it.
Yeah,
It
man.
kind of spills
So was
over
it?
into non-sports. I guess I'm the fullback. So this is kind of cool because this is the first time that I've ever. I normally I don't defend myself. So when I put stuff out, and I've seen the pettiness of all the major out the reputables as they love to call themselves during Bombgate, and I've seen that, but nothing's been more petty than what's been going on in the last 24 hours. And I believe a lot of props need to be given to where they were. And I don't like taking credit for things that I didn't do. Only thing I can do, and I think you've seen this before, is if I wasn't the first, I could just confirm. I'll never say that it was just me, but I will say I can confirm something. And once I got the confirmation, I was like, "Holy shit, this is amazing right here!" So, walk us through this Mims situation when you first heard about it and when you first dropped it, because I want to let people know this: if it's dropped in the fifth quarter Discord on that damn ticker, it's fucking news. It's not just it ain't like everybody else's message board. We don't need to write and just get clicks over in fifth quarter. We're gonna report what's reportable. So walk us through this whole mem situation, because you do have the access that only one other person, or only very few have, the access to the ticker on the fifth quarter.
Yeah, man. So, and I shared this when I was in the spaces, but I'm blessed enough that, and you know this, James, but I got FSU connects, I got NFL connects, I got a lot of connections to the sports world, and one of those connections is very close with the Mims family, and I was one of the few people who stood in the paint with like 21 from fifth quarter. And like the Samoan guy, I can't think of his handle right now offhand, but us three were like, "Hey, man, we always had a real shot at Mims." And of course, between me being wrong about Bob Stoops and then the Hunter debacle, folks, they like to challenge the information. But I was like, yo, just so y'all know, like, Mims has a very real connection with Coach Atkins, and this is somewhere that he wants to be. And last Thursday, actually, I actually wanted to post in the ticker. I got tipped off by one of my connections that is very, like, when I say very close with the University of Georgia, as in a coach on staff at the University of Georgia. He texted me that, hey, just so you know, y'all are getting Mims. And I looked at it and I was like, nah, no fucking way. Then I followed up with, I was like, what do you mean we're getting Mims? And you're like, he has not been to practice the last couple of days. And he officially asked Coach Kirby to put him in the portal. Then the following morning, I was still, going back and forth. All right, am I gonna post this on the ticker, knowing like the kiss of death that could be? I was like, I don't know if I want to do this shit. One of my boys who is on the Rising Spear campaign reached out to me. He was like, "Yo, just confirmed Mims is in play." And at that point, I was like, "All right, I'll post something cryptic as to give us a little juice as a receipt, as I like to call it, that I could come back to, but still, got the juices flowing." Then over the next, I say, 48 hours or so, shit just went crazy. It started getting out. People started pinging, hitting me up like, "Yo, like, is this true? Is it Mims? Like, is he coming?" Everything like that. I was, trying to be, I guess I would say, as reserved as I could, because I knew the logistics behind everything, but I also knew that, I mean, this is where he wanted to be, right? Like he followed the bag instead of his heart the first time, and I think that's one of the things that gives us the upper foot this time. And I know people say, "Oh, well, Miami has this money, Miami has that." They do have that, but I think one of the things that holds FSU in a higher regard compared to Miami is that relationship with Coach Atkins. You know, where regardless of where Mims goes, that dude's going to be a first round pick. And that's one of the things that the coaches at Georgia were a little salty about, especially given what happened the previous year with Jermaine. But they also know you can only play 11 at a time. And James, you know that more than anyone, as someone who played, right? Like you play
Mhm.
your best 11. And although, you know, Mims is a generational talent, it's crazy that, you know, Georgia has two generational talents at tackle ahead of him where he just was not going to play this year. So, you know, their the best way to say this is, you know, their wealth of talent ended up being a blessing in disguise for us. But I feel like, they owe us about six more players because in my lifetime they cost us two national championships. I feel like Rick in '99 and then with Pruitt in 2014, if they don't take those two coaches, we got two more rings in the ring case. So I think we, definitely deserve to get as much overflow talent as they could afford to provide us with. But long story short, given how everything has transpired over the last 48 hours, nothing has changed in my stance and where I stand with what the recruitment is going with Mims. I definitely think that, he will enroll. And, I'm willing to stand in the paint for that. I think that if the Miami visit does end up happening, it's going to end up being ultimately nothing more than a courtesy visit. USC might be one that happens as well, from what I've heard. But I mean, when you're from Southern Georgia and you haven't really seen any of the world, and you could go to Miami and LA on someone else's dime, why the fuck wouldn't you, right? So, especially as a teenager. So, I don't hold that against him. I know that, his family is on board with him being at FSU. I know that, you know, all the boxes have pretty much been checked. And I know that the presentation that, everyone likes to pretend like we're broke, but I know that we were able to check a lot of boxes from the NIL perspective as well. So at this point, I really think that it just comes down to timing and when they're ready to commit. One thing that I will say is Ira is someone that I respect a lot. And I know that there's a lot of talk going around right now about what happened last night with War Chant and them posting everything. And, sometimes people, that stuff gets the best of them. At the end of the day, like, this is not my job. And that's the thing that I think a lot of times I get a lot of frustration with is that, people like Ira, Langston, Newberg, you, like, this is your job, right? Like, y'all are getting paid for this. I don't see a cent for this shit. Like, unless someone like hits me on a cash app just because like they, you know, felt like doing it out of the goodness of their heart and the information I provide. This is not my career. Would I like that to be my career someday? Maybe. I've always loved sports and I have a great affinity for, the industry itself, but it's also something where it's not a 9 to 5. That is a 24/7 job. And, I could give kudos and commend all of y'all who do this shit because it's not easy. And, when you're right. But when you're wrong, people come down on you like twice as hard. And so, my hat's off to all of y'all. But one thing that I'll go on record with is that, Ira wouldn't have shared that if he didn't feel comfortable in his source. That is the ultimate professional. And I know that the reason why he did that, I really won't go into that here publicly, but like you, at the end of the day, it's a numbers game, right? And you
Mhm.
driving subs and things like that. So I just want to go on record, he probably catching a little bit more heat than he probably should right now. But at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. But bringing and wrapping this all the way up, I think that not only is Mims going to be a great piece, that kid, the minute he steps on campus, will be the best offensive lineman that we've had since Landon Dickerson. I joked last night that you know, he still got to put his leg over his head like Juan Williams, but for me to say that he's the most athletic one. But I mean, if you look at that picture yesterday, my man got out in the white tee and the white beater and didn't have an ounce of fat on him. Was towering. He looked like Baby Shaq, and Mike's shaking him up, and he barely covers his hand when shaking him up. So I just think, his intangibles and his physical stature, he's going to be the best product that we've had on campus for a while. And I think personally that can contribute and add at least one and maybe even two extra wins to our win total next year. For me, I'm not as bullish as some, so I think that might bring us to 7 or 8. But that 7 or 8 can be the springboard for our recruiting and where we're looking to go moving forward. So, I have my thoughts on some of the things Mike's has done, especially with the QB room, and I've not stayed away from that within, some of the channels on fourth quarter. I think, being candid, and I think that I can be candid because of the love that, I mean, just for full candor, my son's middle name is Nolan. So, I love FSU, but I love FSU to the point that I think that I can be honest about FSU. And I think that, Mike has had some big failures so far, and he definitely needs to prove himself this year. I mean, last year between losing to Jacksonville State, the Travis Hunter debacle, granted, that's not all on him, but in our rivals' eyes and in the national perception, that shit adds up, right? And then to see, the mismanagement of the quarterback room. If you put on 5 minutes of tape, you would have known that James Blackman was not the answer and that you need to have brought in a grad transfer quarterback or a quarterback of any stature in, class ranking that first year. And then to attach his horse and double down on Jordan Travis. Look, I love, Jordan as a human, but, I have a lot of friends that are scouts and family friends. And I had one flat out tell me, the same one who told me that, Jermaine Johnson would end up being a top 10 pick. And people thought I was crazy when I posted that shit in the room. And now look, he's being projected as a top 15, top 10 pick. That same scout was like, Jordan Travis will never see the combine as a quarterback. That is, it's a utility player. And you can get by on that in college, but I just don't think that Jordan has what it takes to get us over the hump. And, watching the spring game, it only reaffirmed that for me. Like, if you getting happy feet in a pocket where you can't be touched, like, that just speaks volumes. And again, I'm not trying to shit on him as a person or, what he is as a player, but he has his limitations. And candidly, man, I'm sick of seeing us look like shit. Like, I want to get back to winning. Like, I want to get back to double digits and not having our seasons be over before Halloween. I want to be able to look forward to going to a good bowl game or even being in, playoff contention, in title contention. And the last time we could say that was 2014. If you look at a calendar, within 2 years, that's a decade. That has been a quick ass decade, but that's a decade. This is damn near turning into another lost decade. And most of that decade, we haven't made bowl games. That shit is not the FSU standard. And like the logo that you have on your chest, that's not who we are. And I want us to get back to being what we are. So, I definitely think it's put up or shut up time with Mike. Some of the things that he's done. And, I'm not going to go down the laundry list, but if you double down on your quarterback and you double down on your defensive coordinator, you better damn well make sure that, you go out there and prove it. And I think that's what we got to do this year.
Definitely. At Big Game James _36 with AMC, who really, if we're being 100% forthcoming, broke the news of Mims coming to Florida State. And I think a lot of the stuff has to do, you said a lot of things, and I'm going to co-sign with a lot of those things. Ira Schofel is probably one of the consummate professional. I've known him for over 20 years. Ira covered me when I played at Florida State. Ira is an amazing man. It kind of reminds me of the Jim Henry situation that happened around this time and during the offseason of Taggart, going into Taggart's second year, where we had Crime Dog, who was the DB's coach at Auburn, and I believe everybody got fired there. And he was in Tallahassee. He did take a private jet. I did have the pictures and know people who were on that jet with him at Millionaire Air. I just didn't report it because it was a secret. It was a secret meeting, and I know Jim Henry reported that he was here, and then he ended up not coming in, and Jim got some heat. But a lot of times, I believe that you get, and Ira wasn't one of these guys, I believe, but you get what you reap what you sow, and a lot of times these guys are very, very wrong a lot, and they can't stand in the paint and take the heat, even though they are paid, unlike you. And I just remember I've never in my lifetime seen a more unified front than when the one time the fifth quarter was. To quote an athletic director that was fond of most fans, you were right until you were wrong. And those who know, and those who don't will never know. So, but you know that happens, and the pettiness in the petty game comes down to it. People take shots, but you got to bounce back. It's not up to us to boost the self-esteem of grown-ass men who get paid pretty decent for this. And this is not my fault. I get paid to talk shit on radio. I don't really get paid a lot to cover FSU, but like I just do it because I love my alma mater, and it actually sucks that I have to go through this. But what I will say this is that knowing this will do a tremendous job of helping Mike Norvell's image in the state and recruiting nationally when it comes to this, especially getting somebody like Mims in the head in what is perceived to be a head-to-head battle with your rival. While Travis Hunter would have been iconic, I actually really do enjoy. I thoroughly enjoy watching him play, which made me feel weird because he's a high school kid. I don't. Anybody who enjoys watching high school boys play, it's a little weird to me. But that's not my cup of tea.
DMing them?
Yeah, it's not my cup of tea. Like I'm almost 40 years old. I can't be. Even the relationships I have with recruits, I have with the adults in the relationship, and that's how we do some of these things. But I applaud the people who do because that's how you make money. But Travis Hunter would have had to have been on offense to have the impact that we would have wanted. I like what AZ is doing. I like what Sam McCall is doing. Don't get it twisted. I wanted Hunter, but seeing how those guys played this spring kind of made me feel okay. But this Mims guy, if you could get a left tackle, you have just increased your running game, which has also made Jordan Travis that much better of a player. And I don't pretend to know quarterback play or know all those different things, but what I will say is that he's got to play better in order for us to win. And right now, and you talked about it, Mike didn't address it, but I remember going back to the Jeff Sims days when people were mad at me like Jeff Sims was my kid because Jeff Sims decommitted and went to Georgia Tech, but they made a gamble on Purdy and Tate, and it didn't work. Or let me rephrase that. It doesn't look like it's worked right now, but this right here could do that. And if Florida State wins 8 games next season, it could get scary. In terms of recruiting.
You don't want my Purdy tape. I go in the paint for Purdy.
Well, Purdy's the third string quarterback in Nebraska right now. But
yeah, but
I'm just messing with you, dude. At the end of the day, it didn't. It didn't. And I got a chance to meet his brother. His brother's awesome, actually, by the way, Brock. He was training. Shout out to my guy, Denny Thompson with 6 points. Mike, I can get you whatever damn quarterback you want. You just gotta let me know, dog. I can drive right down on the Beach Boulevard, or Denny lives literally across the street from me. I could just go throw a rock at his house and be like, "Hey, give me the damn quarterback we want." One of the unique things that has been talked about in this, I believe, recklessly, and I don't want to see. I come from a how do I say this? I come from the neighborhood that most football players come from, where we also believe that you don't snitch on yourself. But I saw a lot of reports that there were some people who reported that they didn't even believe Mims was coming to Tallahassee on Wednesday. Obviously, fifth quarter,
100%. They said 100% not coming.
Wasn't coming. Fifth quarter not only said he was coming. I would say the big black guy with dread said his hotel reservation is from Wednesday to Saturday. So, fifth quarter went a little bit more specific, maybe over the top with that one, but, just dropped the information. So far, so good. But the one thing that they've talked about is the NIL and different things like this. I don't want to go into specifics because it's impossible for us to know specifics if we're doing everything above board, which my alma mater would never cheat. But knowing this, the people to your family, you talked about not chasing the bag this time. Kind of go into depth with what some of the key factors would be for us to feel strongly about him coming to Florida State.
Yeah, so one of the first things for me, or just knowing is that they want to make sure that he's going to not only be able to showcase his talents, but in this current era, and I don't know what the era is going to look like moving forward because this is crazy what some of these kids are getting paid, but he needs his fair market value, and I think that our NIL team and Rising Spirit did a damn good job of making sure that they presented that, and all accounts that I've heard is that they presented something that will ultimately lead to him wanting to come to FSU. And I think that sometimes, our fans, we have a fickle fan base, one, and, we joke about this all the time. We got to get over, the battered wife syndrome. Like, yeah, shit has sucked the last couple of years, but, we're still a national brand. And, although we don't have generational wealth in terms of like USC, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, we still do have some deep boosters. And I think that, we're doing the right things to gather money. And, you and I have talked about this before, that sometimes people get stuck in their ways. And I think that was a big FSU problem from, 2012 to, recently, I say as much as 2019, where, they saw that Jimbo was able to win a national championship and also make the playoffs without a lot of the bells and whistles that some of the, continual playoff teams had. And, people like to do more with less. And they thought that we could get away with doing that. But time ultimately caught up. And, as much as we probably don't like to admit that, Jimbo was right. He had the foresight to see that there was a lot of shit that we needed to change to make sure that we stayed with just status quo. Not even being ahead of the game, but just status quo. That's how far we were behind, that we needed to get to status quo. And we still aren't there yet. And it's a lot of things that we, still need to do. But I think that, Alfred one is doing an amazing job and making sure
Mm-hmm.
that, we get to where we need to be, but we still got a long way to go. And so one of the things that like I'll encourage people to do, like until I'm blue in the face, if you could subscribe to a paid site, you can contribute $10 to, Rising Spirit, and making sure that we can go after players like Artemis Mims, because at the end of the day, like they're gonna command those big NIL deals. And if we want to remain competitive, we got to show up and we got to do our part. And I'm making sure that I do that. I know that you do that. And I know that, we've talked as a collective in some of our inner circles about making sure that we continue to do that. But one of the things that I think that FSU as a whole, and I'm saying as a parting shot here, is that we need to do is our shit is very fractured right now. And it goes in almost mirrors kind of the paid sites, right? Is that everyone wants the credit for being able to say that they were the ones to, lead the charge. And that should not be the focus. It should be a unified front, making sure that we get our house in order and put in our best foot forward, whatever that may be. Because at the end of the day, man, like, again, I'm just tired of fucking being the butt of jokes for my friends who are rivals. Like, I have my best friend is a Gator fan, and I have other fans who are Miami Hurricane fans. Like, I'm tired of being the fucking butt of jokes, like from uh Trey McKitty being lined up backwards to, just a lot of that wild, flagrant shit that we've seen the last couple of years. Like, I just want to go out, play regular football, line up 11, score touchdowns, win a couple games. Like, I don't even need to be in the playoffs in the next 2 or 3 years. Like, I would love if we could be. I just want a good bowl game, preferably the Fiesta Bowl, because I love Scottsdale. Like, if we could get to Fiesta Bowl, I would shut the fuck up for forever. Like, just get me that. But on like a real closing topic here, I again, like I shared earlier, my son's middle name was Nolan. Like, I go to as many FSU games annually as I can. I donate, a good chunk of change. I truly love the program, and I didn't even go to Florida State, so that just speaks volumes as to how much I care about Florida State. And I just want to see Florida State get back to what Florida State is in terms of an iconic brand, and however I can help out with that, I'll gladly do that.
You heard it here. That's a brief recap from the fifth quarter about what's going on with this Mims situation. AMC wrapped it up gorgeously. It's the best way to really put it. It's too much petty shit and too much catty energy. At the end of the day, we all report things from a different perspective. And I'm going to put this out there. Anybody, if you donate to Rise of Spirit, I got you for 1 month for FQ. So just come on, just post the receipt. We'll get you a Discord name. We'll put you in the chat. Check out some of the things that we're going to be doing unique with NFTs coming up here and with the fifth quarter. I'm trying to put cash in the hands of these athletes. They got to fight back. At the end, like we got to get on the field. We got to do what we need to do on the field.
Get up,
But
Craig.
the difference between us and other traditional SEC powers is they donate, they support, regardless of what the product is on the field, and we got to get to that. And I say this: we will strike back when struck. But the fifth quarter has always said, War Chant provides a different product. 247 provides a different product. I love what Logan and those guys do at Noles Game Day. Everybody does something different. Support all the different things. In reality, support those who are supporting the athletes and putting out the best brand to get us the best generation. Because as I say with the NIL, I am a walking NIL. Ain't nobody in America ate more off of one touchdown than James Coleman. So I appreciate you guys taking the time. Make sure you share this, like this, retweet it. If you like this, we'll try to do this as a weekly to try to get fifth quarter. I can't figure out how to work them goddamn spaces, but I do know how to work StreamYard, and I can work YouTube a little bit. So, man, thank you, AMC. I know you got some business to go. This man's in Chicago, going to Aruba, Jamaica. Oh, I want to take you to Bermuda, Bahamas. Come on, baby mama, whatever the hell that song says. He wrote it. So we'll see you guys later. Appreciate you.
All right.